Coming up on this edition of Flashtalk, brought to you by Bryant Heating and Cooling. Head ball coach Kenni Burns stops by to recap our game against BG and looking ahead to our Ball State test this Saturday. Kody Morgan talks special teams and takes an inside look at a recruiting schedule. And Rob Senderoff talks about the big week that was here inside the Mac Center. Haley Eckerman stops by to put a wrap on our volleyball season. As always, we take a look at your promos. That's all coming up in a flash. Welcome back inside the GFTV studios. It is Flash Talk. As always, we're brought to you by Bryant Heating and Cooling. Dan Griffin alongside head ball coach Kenni Burns. And coach, we flip back into Saturday. So a little bit of a extended break for you guys, and how you guys been treating a little bit of extra time off in preparation for Ball State.
Yeah, it was all about this late in the season is all about recovery, right? Being able to take care of your body and get yourself ready to finish the last two games off and get some guys back and get healthy. And we've really focused on that. We didn't practice as much, and definitely not as many full padded practices as we've done in the past. But getting guys healthy, and they're excited to get back on the field and give this thing a shot.
I don't think anybody at this point in the season is truly 100%. So those extra few days have got to be worth its weight in gold for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best teams are just figuring out how to manage it all, through the health of your team in this time of year. So it's exciting times, and to get guys back on the field, obviously.
You guys have let's talk a little bit about that, because you've talked about the opportunistic nature of this team, and I thought a lot of guys this past week kind of seized that opportunity. Certainly, Tommy has kind of gotten himself familiarized with the process of being QB1 with his play getting better and better each and every week. But he's really developed chemistry with a lot of guys that have stepped up and really progressed as the season has gone on. Let's start with Luke Florio, who seems to be always open, regardless of what the coverage might be.
Yeah, I thought Luke did a great job this game. He's probably the last three games he's played pretty well. I think he wanted a couple of drops back at the end of the game, but I think I can see the progression in Luke. He went from being just a kind of a guy in a role situation to now becoming one of our playmakers, and he's got to carry that for the rest of this year on to next year. But I've been excited about Luke's growth.
Trell Harris had a little bit of a rough start there with Bowling Green being an opportunistic defense, put a hat on a ball, and but he responded very well with a strong second half, and he's a guy that continues to grow and as his role expands.
Yeah, he's a younger guy, and he's got to become more consistent, and I think he knows that, and I think you saw that in the first half compared to the second half, and that's part of the growing pains of being a young player, but definitely has a ton of potential.
You look at the offensive line, and obviously an extension of that is your tight end play, but the versatility there with guys being able to play multiple positions, and with the tight ends being both an extension of that offensive line and then releasing and being able to catch a ball out in space, really is giving you the versatility that you've needed down the stretch here.
Yeah, I've impressed with our line. I think the growth and the maturation they've had from the first game to now has been outstanding, and I give that a credit to them and then Coach Limegrover. But they've been able just to go where they're needed and fill in and play hard and physical, and really limit their MAs, which is missed assignments.
And look at defense. It was a lot of guys stepping up in the linebacker role, but I thought the defensive line really kind of stepped their game up, knowing that they'd be asked to do a little bit more with some of the guys playing new roles at the second level.
Yeah, our defensive line has kind of been the heart of our defense, and when they played well, we've had success. When they haven't played well, we haven't had success on the defensive side of the ball. So we challenged them all the time about being the kind of the staple of our defense, and I thought they did a solid job this week. And the growth from, again, week one to now is what I'm looking at, and I can see it, and I can see it moving in the right direction.
Well, let's look at the next challenge ahead, and that's a Ball State squad. And the last road trip of the season takes us out to Muncie. Obviously, a few familiar names for our Golden Flash faithful, but it doesn't start and stop with Marquez Cooper. This is an offense that has really come on as of late in a big win in a rivalry game over Northern Illinois last time out. Yeah,
they're playing well, and you got to give them credit. What they're doing, they're playing really hard right now, and they're playing for each other, which is something we're trying to obtain here. And you see that all over the tape. And what I mean by that is guys finishing through the whistle, trying to block down the field, finishing runs, finishing catches, and then swarming to the ball on defense was what they do as well. And you see it all over the tape. And I thought last week they did a really good job up front on both lines of scrimmage, offensive line and defensive line. And we got our hands full this.
What's the task at hand defensively to be able to control the trenches?
Yeah, you know what? I think we've got to do a lot of things, simplifying it for our linebackers to make it simple for their eyes so they can see it and react. And this game is real simple. So you got to stop the run. They want to run the ball with the quarterback, with the running back. You got to get 11 hats to it, and we got to swarm to it, and we got to stop it throughout the whole game. And when we look up at the end, have more rushing yards than they do.
Well, it all gets underway 2 p.m. on ESPN Plus. And Coach, safe travels. We'll see you out in Muncie, and let's bring home a W.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And go Flashes, Kent G.R.I.T.
And welcome back inside the GFTV studios. Dan Griffin joined alongside our co-special teams coordinator, Kody Morgan, talk a little teams. But, Coach, first and foremost, welcome to the Flashtalk set and Kent State University. First time we've had you on the show.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for having me.
We'll talk a little bit about your journey within the football landscape and how you ended up on the Kent State staff.
Yeah, so I started my football career. I played at a small Division III school, UW-Stevens Point. Played corner there. Was a 4-year starter. Ended up coaching there as well. At my alma mater was kind of my first coaching job. Ended up as a graduate assistant out in Bismarck, North Dakota, which I know it's pretty cold for everybody around here. For you Ohio residents, I don't recommend it. It's pretty cold out there. But enjoyed 2 years out there. Got my master's from there. Came back home, coached at UW Stout, which was a rival from a school that I played at. Was a little bit of a unique experience there. And from there, ended up going to North Dakota State. And I was there for over 7 years. That was kind of my connection to Coach Burns. So obviously Coach Burns coached at NDSU for a while as well, won some national championships up there. I had worked that camp for numerous years, so I never worked directly with Coach Burns, but I had the pleasure of meeting him numerous times, working that camp, being together. And then when I got the phone call to come here, it was a no-brainer to join this staff and start what we would call, year one with this whole crew, trying to get things going on the right track.
Well, a lot of new faces on this team, obviously, but a lot of familiar ones on the special teams. Let's talk a little bit about that, because from year one to year 3 now with Andrew Glass, he has been a mark of consistency and a guy that nothing's ever automatic, but he's about as close as it gets, especially in the Mid-American Conference.
No doubt. Glass is a special one, and I'm glad to have been able to be a part of him. Obviously didn't recruit him, got here and inherited Glass, which I'm forever thankful for a guy that goes out there and is, like you said, Mr. Consistency. You know what you're getting from Glass every single time. He's had a couple misses so far this year, which obviously hurts us, but we still feel really great about him and the things that he's able to do, and love the way he's kicking the ball on kickoff and as a field goal kicker right now, doing a great job for us.
And you talk about guys that are flying down on coverage. Gus Goodell seems to want to hit everybody at every single opportunity. He's usually one of the guys that is leading the charge out there. And again, a mark of consistency both on the whatever the long snapping needs are, Gus has been the guy.
Yeah, he's been really good, very consistent, as you mentioned, from snaps on extra points to field goals to long snaps on punt. Made the big play last week with the tackle, which is exciting. I think he about ripped my arm off when I went to go high-five him. He was so juiced up and so pumped. But for a long snapper, that's kind of their Super Bowl. Get a chance to run down there and go make a play finally and go tackle somebody, which was awesome for him, excited for him to see his growth. Coming from a whole different system we're running with the punt team, just to see how him embrace that, run down there, get better week after week, and now start to make some big-time plays.
Josh Smith, now that he's fully healthy, he's got a whole different bag of tricks with everything that he's been able to do. Just talk about the freedom that you get to kind of go into the lab a little bit and come out and that Josh is probably going to execute it on some level.
Yeah, from the land down under, he's got a lot of different tricks up his sleeve with different ways to punt the ball. We've kind of minimized that, honestly, this year and tried to get him good at doing just a couple things rather than doing a bunch of things. And, like you mentioned it, the injury, I think, set him back a little bit. Once he's come back from the injury, now fully healthy, you've seen how special he can be booting the ball. And he does this remarkable job for us.
Kind of mini buys that we've got when we flip back in and out of action is kind of giving you guys a little bit more freedom on the weekends to go out and hit the recruiting trail. So just talk a little bit about that journey with the Kent G.R.I.T crew.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to be able to come back and then go out and watch some high school football games on a Friday night, get into some high schools, get a chance to talk with a lot of coaches and spread our brand. I think a lot of people don't really know exactly what Kent G.R.I.T is all about, so we're getting that message going, especially in the state of Ohio, doing a really good job getting all these guys, recruiting these guys, getting those guys on campus. And we're really excited about the classes and the classes to come as well.
We got about a month left until signing day, so a final push here for you and your crew.
That's exactly right. Got to push, got to get these guys, making sure they're feeling really solid and everything, and excited for signing day. We have a really, really good group of dudes that we are all extremely excited about and going to make our team a ton better as we move forward.
Kody Morgan, talk a little recruiting and special teams here on Flash Talk. Coach, thank you for a few moments of your time.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Let's take a look at what's going on around Kent State athletics. As always, we are brought to you by KSUTix.com. Check out KentStateSports.com for the Paradise Jam Classic schedule this weekend, as our men's basketball team will take on Hampton on Friday evening. Then games could either be on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, depending on how the tournament falls out. Our football team is on the road for the final time in the regular season, traveling to Ball State to take on the Cardinals. It's a 2 p.m. kickoff and can be seen on ESPN+. And on Tuesday evening, our women's basketball team is back in action, taking the trip down to the Queen City to take on the Xavier Musketeers. For more information about your favorite Kent State sports, visit us on the web at KentStateSports.com and follow us at Kent State Athletics on your favorite social media platform. Welcome back inside the GFTV studios. It's Flash Talk. We're brought to you by Bryant Heating and Cooling. Dan Griffin alongside head men's basketball coach Rob Senderoff. And Coach, thanks for a few minutes of your time.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
What an electric home week to start the season with 3 contests against Malone, James Madison, an instant classic, and then a tough grinded-out win against Fresno State. Just kind of a 20,000-foot view of how you thought the opening week of college basketball was.
Well, it was great to get back out on the court and have this team get an opportunity to play together, play some home games to open up the season, and get to learn a lot about our team here in November. So, we didn't play very well, quite honestly, against Malone, and I think disappointed in how we played that night. Only had 7 assists over the course of the night. Second half, we played much better, but still not to our level. You mentioned an instant classic against James Madison, and, that's one that I won't forget for forever, and certainly have a lot of things I wish I had done differently on my end in that game. But James Madison's a really good team, and you learn from those games, win or lose. So I think we learned a lot from that game, and then to see us respond against a team from the Mountain West on Saturday night at home, less than 48 hours after the game ended against James Madison was great to see. So the response was really what you'd hope for, and I think that says a lot about our team, more so than any other thing that took place that week.
Yeah, like you said, it's not easy, win or lose, to come back from a double overtime game like that just 24, or like you said, 48 hours later. But it was a couple of games on Thursday and Saturday that had a tournament or March-like feel here in early November. So that it was, one, really cool to really remind you that basketball is back. But again, like you said, a great environment and a good test on different levels and in multiple ways for your team.
Yeah, I you said that, and that's really true. It had the feel, both games, Thursday and Saturday, of March games. The crowds were great. The environment here was electric. The level of play and playmaking by both teams was high level. And, again, you learn from it. And that's the biggest thing early in the year. Obviously, you want to win every game you play. So we all do. But in this league, the most important thing is to be playing your best in March and in January, February as well, and learning about your team as you get into those moments. So there'll be that situation again, up 5, a few seconds to go, or vice versa, down 5, and hey, you can't stop playing. And we'll learn from those situations for sure. To be able to respond the way we did Saturday, I think, is more telling than anything of the week, because again, there's going to be a loss in middle of January that we're disappointed about. How do we respond to that loss? And we can learn lessons from Saturday's game. And that's what you need to do right now.
Absolutely. And now you get yourself into and you guys love to do this, get yourself into a tournament-like atmosphere where there's, again, a compressed schedule, but you get to do it in a little bit of paradise. It's literally called the Paradise Jam Classic, going to St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. First test is Friday evening against a good Hampton squad.
Yep. So we get 3 games in 4 days, not 3 and 3. There's a day off in there depending upon how you do in the tournament. But we'll play quality competition on a neutral site in a compressed period of time. So our depth will be tested, our ability to respond from day 1 to day 2 will be tested, and you get a tournament-like atmosphere. So those things are great. Obviously, the place that we're going is fantastic for our players and fans and friends. For me, it makes no difference. Unfortunately, it makes no difference where we play because I'm holed up in my hotel room watching film after games and before games. But for everybody else, it's a great place to be, in the Virgin Islands. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, so that's going to be Friday, like you said, either Saturday, if that's the loser bracket game. Hopefully we're playing Sunday against the winner of either Missouri State or Florida Gulf Coast. But really quickly, Coach, this also gives the coaching staff an opportunity you get 24 hours to turn around a scout. It's kind of a compressed atmosphere for you guys to be able to prepare for and get the team ready for a new opponent.
Yeah, makes it tough on the staff, but that, again, March-like,
Exactly.
Which is what we all enjoy. So really looking forward to it.
Well, check out KentStateSports.com for the updated schedule. Coach, safe travels, and try to get a little bit of sun when you're out there.
Yeah, sun's not good for me, but I will. Thank you.
And we're here inside the GFTV studios. Another segment of Flash Talk brought to you by Brian Heing and Cooling. Dan Griffin alongside Haley Eckerman talking a little volleyball. And Coach, it's hard to believe that we're already at season's end.
Yeah, it went by way fast. I wanted it to get here quickly, and then as it started, it just escaped really quickly.
So this week, obviously, wraps up the regular season. For a coach, just talk to us a little bit about the to-do list as a season immediately comes to an end.
Yeah, I think the biggest season for us is really our off season, getting those kids adjusted, especially when you have so many new kids come in. And we don't get summer access with them like basketball does. Our spring is where we really get to work on the technical side of things. So that's going to be really key for us, is getting those freshmen acclimated into that piece of it and understanding the game better.
And the spring season obviously starts in spring, where you're going to get a few competition dates to go and try things out. But between now and then, obviously exit interviews, you're going to be hitting the recruiting trail. We just had a little bit of a taste of signing day. So what is kind of the checklist for you and the staff?
Yeah, I think one of our things that we struggled with this year alone was just bodies. And then when bodies hit the floor, we didn't have the bench to continue it. And so I think trying to kind of build that piece of it. So looking at some junior college kids, some transfer kids when the portal opens up in a couple weeks. I don't want to be too young, so I don't want to bring in 11 new freshmen. And so trying to find that balance of what we need, and we've got a couple kids already signed, and excited to bring them in as well.
So when you are building a roster, do you try to stick with is even of a class distribution as possible, so you're not reshuffling the deck, or is it when you're trying to build a culture, you're like, I need help?
Yeah, it's kind of a mixture of both, and I think this is the last year going into next year of kids that have COVID years. So those grad kids, those kind of can throw some things off, but it also can help kind of balance that piece of it. Instead of bringing in, 7 freshmen, you can bring in 4 and then 3 grad kids, and then kind of replace it that way. And so trying to just find the balance, but also understanding like our goal is to go get the best players we can.
And so where can we find you kind of over the next few weeks? Obviously, portal, that is what it is, but as far as being able to recruit on the high school and JUCO levels, what do the next few weeks and a few months kind of offer you as an opportunity?
Yeah, so NCAA kind of puts us in a little hold for a little bit. So we go on a quiet period starting December 1st. So we potentially might get out to the JUCO championships next week, and then we really don't get to go back out onto the road until February, I think 17th or 18th, which kind of hurts us in a sense as far as like the 24 class, because club season ends in April for them. So trying to get out there, but we'll get, obviously in the portal, try to get some of those kids. We can still bring kids on visits. So trying to get some of those kids in on visits so that we can kind of finalize the season before our spring season starts, and trying to get as many of those kids committed before the new year. So that's pretty much what we'll be doing during that time, and then kind of just preparing for spring and what the training will look like.
And with JUCO and with hitting the portal, are you able to get those kids in advance of that spring semester so you can get them in for spring ball? They're not kind of running uphill as when you guys get here in the summer?
Yeah, it kind of just depends. So if they are kids that graduate early, or if they're transfer kids and we have the money, it kind of just depends on what we have that leaves here. If they're willing to, walk on for a semester and then we put them on money, it kind of just depends on the kid. Most of those grad kids, though, would be like a summer kid for us. And the same with the JUCO because they have to graduate from their junior college. And so most of them, though, will be coming in the summer.
And so obviously between now and, like you said, and then when the spring ball kind of hits, you're on the whiteboard, you're dissecting whether it be recruits or, all right, here's where we feel that we need the help. And you're just kind of doing a full deep dive into the statisticalness of your season and the players.
Yeah, so I'm sitting down with our strength coach Bob and going over individual players and do they need to get faster? Do they need to get more explosive off the ground? Kind of what did we have shoulder rehab problems and do we need to kind of prehab that during the spring season? Sitting with our trainer, kind of really dissecting every single piece of kind of what went wrong this season and how we can get it better in the spring and get stronger and faster. And then kind of just what needs to be changed.
Well, Coach, best of luck on the to-do list and safe travels if you guys do hit the recruiting trail. But thank you for a few moments of kind of peeking back the curtain as to what goes on immediately in an off-season at the D1 level.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
That's going to do it for this edition of Flash Talk. As always, we're brought to you by Bryant Heating and Cooling. Join us next week as we take another deep dive into the world of Kent State athletics. For all of us here inside the GFTV studios, this is Dan Griffin saying goodnight and go Flashes.